When you come in to a shift, the first thing, I'm a lieutenant, so I'm what is considered a company officer. I'm in charge of one piece of apparatus. And we do kind of like a roll call, and the firefighters check you always check all your gear on the truck at the beginning of your shift, all the medical gear, where all the tools are, everything. You start your truck up, you pull it out, you check all the lights and sirens, make sure everything works, and so on. And that's the beginning of our day. Monday is when all our oxygen, what we breathe in a fire, we call them our Scott packs, but that's like Kleenex. Scott's the company. So firefighters will know what you mean when you say Scott packs. So on Mondays, we have to inventory, make sure they're all in working condition and record them in a logbook. 4 o'clock on, 4 to 6 is kind of downtime. And then we'll be eating dinner at 6, and then, the nights, you do what you want. And, we live here, at the firehouse through the night. You don't sleep like you sleep at home. I call it sleeping with one eye open, because you're always waiting for the alarm to go off the tone. We currently work what is called, on an 8-day cycle. We work 2 24-hour shifts within that 8-day cycle. So, like the group this week, our group, it's broken into 4 groups. So with 13 firefighters on each group covering the town. So our group we worked this past Saturday, 24 hours. We had Sunday off, 24 hours. Then we came in today, and we'll get off tomorrow morning. So 24-hour shift, 8 in the morning to 8 the next morning. Then we have 5 days off. So then we don't come back into work till next Sunday. So this week we were Saturday, Monday. Next week we're Sunday, Tuesday. And it works an 8-day cycle like that.
Having kids now, the holidays are tough. Back when I didn't have kids, or back when I was single, it wasn't that bad. Like, you come in, it's just another day. You miss your family, but you can make up for it like the next day, or you could have like an early Christmas. Nowadays with kids, it's a little bit trickier. Like, you feel bad because you're not home. Like this year, I worked last Christmas, and I'm working this Christmas. So I missed my son's first and second Christmas, which is kind of a bummer. On the other end, you get those 5 days off, where on those 5 days off, I spend them with my kids. Cabinet kind of has a theme, I don't know what you call it. So this one's rescue, we got water. A lot of times they show, like in movies and stuff, firefighters walking into a fire, like standing up, just walking right in like nothing's going on, and the fire being right there. A lot of times you gotta actually crawl around because it's pitch black smoke and you can't see anything, so you gotta crawl, and it's not that easy to find.
TV firefighting is Chicago Fire. It does such a disservice, okay? Those guys, every night, every shift, they're doing these gigantic rescues, like that even in the big cities, you'd maybe have once in a career. And, and it just isn't like that. And another misconception is, well, we don't have fires anymore, so you guys do nothing. We don't do nothing. Fires are down across the country, okay? Even the big cities, New York City, Boston Fire, Philadelphia, fires are down everywhere because of a couple things. Technology. Everyone now has fire alarm, smoke detector systems. Fires are being caught earlier than they were in the old days, so they're smaller, they're being put out quicker, or they're not even happening. We are constantly doing medical calls. It's a big part. And the big question I get as the public educator, why do you send a fire truck to an ambulance call? And the reason is manpower. It isn't like on TV. A lot of times people are on second or third floors, We're trained we can do a lot of medical procedures. And the fire truck is a big, what we call a rolling toolbox, okay? We can get into any door. We've had people, sometimes to get patients out of rooms, we've had to take doors off, and so on. So we have all the tools.
The principal responsibility is to make sure that the citizens of Wellesley and the fire staff are appropriately trained and the citizens of Wellesley are safe. My job is to look at what the risks are in the community and make sure that we have adequate resources and personnel trained to respond to those risks.
Another thing you're seeing in the fire service now is hazardous materials, okay? Chemical release and so on. That's a big part of the fire department's job. In Massachusetts, we work on it's called a regional hazmat. When I say hazmat, I mean, that's the term for hazardous material. So what happens if and we're getting more and more of them since 9/11, calls were suspicious, unattended backpack. We had at Babson a couple of years ago. Years ago it would be nothing. Now the bomb squad comes out, we have to evacuate everyone and so on. And same with hazardous materials. We call on a regional team, and Wellesley has one member who's assigned to that team. Another thing what Wellesley firefighters do is, along with the EMSs, we do what are called well-being checks or public assistance calls. Elderly people, elderly couple, one of the spouses falls out of bed at 2 in the morning. He's on the floor, can't get up. He's not hurt, but the spouse can't get him up. What do? They call the fire department.
They call 911. They get the Wellesley Consolidated Dispatch Center, which is managed by the police department. So the call goes in there. The dispatcher is a highly trained individual who listens to the information that's being presented to them, and they make the assessment of what the nature of the needs are. At that point, they'll tone it out. When I say tone it out, it puts a signal over to the station, and our people listen, and it broadcasts either simultaneously over our radio system and an intercom system that's in both stations. And they tell us where and what the nature of the emergency is and what crews are being assigned and sent there. And we have a whole schedule of, if it's a certain type of call, it gets a certain type of response. So, and depending upon where it is, that determines what piece of apparatus goes. So that's all worked out ahead of time. So the dispatcher, as soon as they identify what the nature of the incident is able to send resources, and they communicate that. Our personnel come on the air and confirm over the radio that they have the call and they're responding to the appropriate place with the appropriate resources.
One respond 106 Central Street, Wellesley College, in the counseling center for a female student making suicidal threats. Engine 1, Medic 1, respond 106 Central Street, Wellesley College, in the counseling center for a female party making suicidal statements at 1445.
We live here, so it's kind of like a family environment in the way, like we call it a brotherhood. Fire department's a brotherhood, sisterhood. So we're making meals together, obviously going on these calls together, some of which are pretty serious.
There is that brotherly camaraderie that they always talk about. They come in, you kind of rag on each other, but in the end, you'll work your way to get through the call to fix whatever the problem is. They come in, we joke around, but as soon as the bells or alarms go off, it's serious.
Around 7 years ago, we began to work very hard to recruit female employees, and we have currently today we have 4 female firefighters, which is outstanding. Certainly on medical calls and things of that nature, I think they bring an added dimension, and it also shows that we're a very inclusive group of an organization, that we're open to everybody.
In Wellesley, we have 4 female firefighters. We actually have 2 on my shift, and it's definitely still a male-dominated occupation. Around the country, it's 1%, 3% of the fire service is female. Coming on the job, knowing that it is a predominantly male occupation, you have to prove yourself in a way. You have to show them that you're able to do all the tasks that the job has. You have to show that you have the ability to complete any kind of task.
One of my favorite days, my favorite group of days, is Wellesley College graduation.
Really?
I absolutely adore going there and working it and seeing all the future women, strong women of the world. I am a very lucky person to be working here in Wellesley with that college. it's just absolutely wonderful, and I love it, and I am lucky to be here for that. My favorite ice cream flavor is maple walnut.
Lieutenant Paul Delaney, Wellesley Fire.
Rick Delory, I'm the fire chief here in the town of Wellesley.
Danielle Fitzpatrick, and I'm a firefighter.
My name is Matthew Corda. I'm a lieutenant.